Welcome to TAC Talk. I'm your host, Nadirah Nazeer. If you think you've had a rough life and gone through some crazy challenges, you want to listen to this story. My guest today is James Hurt. He has overcome drug addiction, prison, gang activity, spinal surgery, and near-death situation as a young man. He has risen from all these challenges and now paying it forward with a Reviver Rejuvenation Ranch for at-risk youth, amongst other charities supporting teens, to make positive and proactive decisions to live healthier, safer, and better lives, especially for those who have lost their way. James, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much, my friend.
Hello,
Nadirah.
hello. Wow.
It's an honor to be here. I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
I've been watching you rise for the last, 6 months to a year now.
Thank you for that, James. Quite a story.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
From prison to surgery to addictions, and I look at you now, a very successful entrepreneur and philanthropist. So walk us a little bit through your journey to who you are today.
Yeah, well, by God's grace, I'm sitting here with you today. The odds, were stacked against me throughout my life. I'm 46 years young now, and, my first experiences as a young man going into my teenage years, I kind of veered off a little bit. I was a good student, I was a great artist, I had a few girlfriends, I played some sports, and then it all changed. With what I thought was a minor decision at the time turned out to be a major life-altering choice. I smoked my first joint of marijuana. Led to acid, hash, lube, number of things that kids do in high school. And
how old were you then?
I was 15. I was 15 when I first experienced it, and it led to a group of some undesirable lads, that were skipping school, hanging out downtown, a little bit of crime, violence, and more drugs. By the time I was 17 years old, I had a really beautiful girlfriend, and I was kind of like that skater punk guy that the football players didn't really like that much. But I had the girl, and she thought it would be fun to steal $10,000 from her father. Wrote a check. I went to the bank, cashed it. Dad and the police were waiting for me. Good kid, bad choice. Right, so I ended up getting charged as a young 17-year-old boy, and I ended up getting convicted as an 18-year-old man because I became 18 during the process. So fast forward to where I am now. That's why I do what I do, because the system is flawed. It's the school of criminology, I like to call it. There's nothing rehabilitative or any rejuvenation or any healing going on emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually in prison. There's none of that, especially for an 18-year young man.
So let me ask you this. So after prison, what was the pivotal moment for you to decide, okay, I'm going to change? And how did that came about, and was there a support system or lack of support system out there to assist you?
Well, part of my journey was getting bullied. Okay, so I grew up in a very Anglo-Saxon city. My background is German, so I've paid for what happened in the war in 1942 my entire life, and I had known nothing about it. I have nothing to do with it. I was born in Canada, but being German, it's an interesting life because people judge you right out of the gate. Monsters, evil, etc. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. I'm a very loving soul. My mother was a philanthropist. She raised a lot of money for women's shelters. She had a modeling agency and a modeling school, and I've been by her side serving women's shelters for the most of my young life as I was in the fashion industry. When I got out, I didn't go to prison long. It was a 3-month sentence. I got let out after 2 months because I was a young man. They allowed me to finish my schooling in what was called a halfway house. However, I met some undesirable people inside the joint. And that led to another 10 years of crime, violence, drugs, 7 friends dead from drug addictions, and 1 friend dead from gang violence.
So you're now in your late 20s?
That was in my late 20s. When I was 30, I actually overdosed on cocaine. And my daughter looked at me when I came through, and she was like, "Dad, what happens if you end up dead or you go back to prison?" And she said a few words that pretty much straightened me up. "What if I need you?" And from there forward, I've been clean now for 16 years and living the law of attraction and giving back full tilt, and built a number of very successful companies, sold one company, and I'm on my way to opening up ranches across Canada for at-risk youth so they don't go through what I went through.
So the pivotal moment for you was that conversation you had with your daughter that wake
Bingo.
you up
That,
and after
that's the
the
answer
overdose.
to your question.
After the overdose.
Yeah, it's my children. I got beautiful Alicia here, and my son Lucas, 25 and 8, and you know, I did the tattoos in the reverse, in the negative, because they're my light shining the way.
Oh, really nice.
Yeah,
really
thank you.
nice. And it's an inspiring story for our viewers out there who are struggling, a lot of youth who are struggling. So it looks like even though after prison for you, it still took you 10 years of series of bad decisions up to an overdose to shift it. So when you decided to shift, what was the first key stuff? How did you shift? What are the different decisions that you started to make?
When I was 26, so I didn't get out completely until I was 30. You know, drug addictions have a way to bring you back in. People within the crime circuit have a way to bring you back in, or not even begin to let you out because you know too much. It's a very dangerous game, especially for young people, especially for those that don't know what they're doing. The strong survive in that world. When I was 26, I made the conscious decision that I wanted to better my life because I had already had a daughter when I was a very young man. You know, my daughter's 25, now I'm 46, so you can do the math. I decided to become a trainer at Good Life Fitness, personal trainer. So I went from personal trainer to master trainer to elite plus trainer to fitness manager to being nominated for Canadian Personal Trainer of the Year, nominated for Canadian Fitness Manager of the Year, and then I broke the record for the largest revenue generating trainer in the history of the biggest fitness company in Canada, which is Good Life Fitness. Did that with 3 other companies. Got out of that because I was tired of lining the pockets of another person with 7 figures. I thought, you know what, this is my turn now to do this on my terms. Launched a modeling agency for fitness models, so I had a model search. I had a magazine that had 16 copies of the magazine that came out, 16 issues. I had a social network with over 900,000 unique fitness models from around the world on it. And then I was hosting events right across Canada, a model search event, and in Mumbai, India. So I sold my first franchise to Mumbai. And then shortly after, when I came back, I ended up selling the entire company to my staff, moved into the personal development sector because now I could help everybody versus just fitness types, right? I was more passionate about serving the world at large. Shortly after, I became the keynote speaker for the United Nations of Canada.
And when was that? Which year?
Would have been in my early 30s now,
Okay.
right? So just shortly after that, like I went from 26, you know, by the time I was, I would say 29, I shifted into my own fitness company and then ended up selling that. And then I went into personal development when I was 33. But I was still competing. So, you know, I went from, you know, being very unhealthy to the epitome of health. So I brought my body to like 165 pounds. You know, regularly I walk around at 185 as a 5'10" man, 3% body fat, and I started entering physique competitions. So from the epitome of unhealthy to the epitome of healthy. And, you know, the common cliche saying, if I can do it, you can do it. You know, I'm just a normal Joe that went through a lot of stuff, that had a bunch of circumstances and situations in front of me. And we always have a choice. It's either a bad outcome or a good outcome, depending on the path that we decide to take. So when I discovered a guru, I like to call them, Esther and Jerry Hicks. Are you familiar with them?
No.
No?
So were those
Yeah.
your mentors?
I never actually met them in person.
Okay.
Jerry has passed now. Esther is a channeler, and she basically has a system called the emotional guidance system that she teaches. Each of us were given this as we came into this human body. Call it our internal GPS, right? Fear, despair, anger, shame, grief, very low resonating emotions. It's, you know, it says, hey, we got to get out of here because this doesn't feel good in our body. Love, abundance, joy. So joy is true north. And when we're in joy and we follow joy, life becomes magical. And the only way you can get to those emotions is if you're a good person.
And also, you've learned how to shift your thoughts. You moved away from addiction. You started using all your brain power and energy for something better and good. And you had something to live for your children.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, I
Which is
had my
great.
own children, and I didn't want my children to make some of the silly choices I made. You know, I got very, very lucky with my daughter. She's a shining example of how things should be done. And my son is still young. However, I have a big passion for teenagers, especially between the ages of 14 to 17. So we're working on a ranch project right now called Reviver Rejuvenation Ranch for at-risk kids.
And I want to talk a lot more about that next, and also your entrepreneurship that you're a great, very successful entrepreneur. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with James Earth.
Losing weight and feeling fit is a simple 3-point process: diet, exercise, and a weight reduction supplement. VegiSlim by Greenish is a Health Canada approved weight management formula that's effective, safe, vegetarian, and natural to use. Combined with the right diet and exercise plan, VegiSlim will bring you back onto the path of healthy living.
Welcome back. We are here with James Earth. We're talking about drug addiction. We're talking about having a rough youth and how do you overcome that. And now James is a very successful entrepreneur, and we're going to talk about that next. And then in the next segment, stay with us too, we'll be talking about the philanthropy work that he's been doing, a great program for youth at risk. So you are a very successful entrepreneur. Tell us a different type of business that your ventures that you're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, after I got out of the fitness industry, I moved more towards personal development to serve what's in your heart and what's in your head. I knew a lot of speakers, authors, internet marketers, coaches, so I started a number of vehicles for communication of purpose, right? So I own a book publishing company. I own the Dynamo Speaker Talent Search, so I host an event twice a year with 20 speakers, kind of like American Idol or Canadian Idol, where instead of singing, it's speaking. Right, so for 3 minutes they speak, and then the audience is the judging panel, and we would have a winner twice a year. So I've done that 7 times. I'm going into my 8th one. And I have a graphic design company that I've been working with for now almost 20 years. So it's kind of overlapped with the fitness. So that's kind of the background. I went to school for graphic design way back when. And then I kind of merged them all into this project called Dynamo Entrepreneur, which has evolved to television as well. As you know, I'm a TV show host as well. So over the past 2 years, I had worked for Rogers Television when it was still out and about in Toronto. Now I'm looking at a couple of different networks, either Omni or CHCH, to go Canada-wide versus just GTA. But the dream is Oprah Winfrey Network.
Of course.
Right? So I have a show concept and a pilot that I've been creating for the last little while called Lifestyles of the Healthy, Wealthy, and Kind. So I'm mixing kind of a merger between extreme home makeover, you know, like Ty Pennington Move That Bus, the quirkiness of Ellen, Cribs, and Robin Leach. Do you remember Robin Leach?
Yes, I remember him. The
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
That's right.
You can do that show with his accent, right? You have a cool accent like that.
Accent.
That's right. That's right. So kind of a merger of all that. So I'm interviewing 13 billionaires around the world, and I'm challenging to give back 25 million to their community. They kind of know it's coming, and it's close and dear to their heart. So it's a charity that they believe in, and it's really cool because the first one we're actually going to be working with is in Dubai. It's Sheikh Mohammed, right? So one of my staff, one of my film crew, had worked for him for 13 years. So we have a fairly solid in. So we're going to approach him first. So hopefully we get a yes from that, and then from that pilot we'll kind of spread outwards, and the next stop would be India.
So you mentioned Dynamo Entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right. So there's 3 elements to it, which is the graphic, the speaker, and
the book publishing.
The book publishing.
Right.
So for viewers out there who wants to know more how to engage with Dynamo Entrepreneur, what are the services that they can benefit from?
Yeah, like if you want a book, you know, as a single author, that's one thing that we do. We specialize in anthologies and how-to books, right?
Okay.
So an anthology, take for example, 21 authors. We have the Dynamo Diaries. We're going into volume 3 right now. It's 21 authors sharing 3 nuggets of wisdom if this was your last day on earth. So what would you share with the world or your children if this was your last day? And they're all like experts, you know, entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, coaches, you know, so you're getting a really good selection of wisdom in those books. In addition to that, I've also done some books for youth, at-risk youth, which is a different model. We've built a different publishing company called Sub-Zero, and Zero is Z-H-E-R-O with hero in it, Sub-Zero. Yes. And it was a vehicle that didn't edit, because the stories that they're telling, it's better that it's their language in slang. So we just did one with 40 young boys in the Jane and Finch region, and it would bring you to tears what's really going on in those communities.
So is that going to be published?
It's published already.
Oh, it's published already.
It's been published now for a couple of years, and we use it as a fundraising vehicle.
Okay. And what's the name of the book for our viewers out there who wants to get a copy of that
I'm going to keep that on the DL now. It's kind of a word-of-mouth private project. I'll give you one later in private. But Dynamo, it's kind of moved more towards the television side of things. I'm about to launch Dynamo Media and Dynamo TV. TVs are about to start looking like smartphones. It's going to be more app-based, kind of like, you know, the Apple iTunes box or any sort of those boxes. So with the broadband boom that's about to explode because broadcast is dying a slow, painful death, things are changing rapidly. So we're looking to build a positive energy network from the top of the Marilyn Monroe Towers, is where I actually reside in Mississauga, and the simple rule is this: it has to be positive. Everything
so do you have a specific target audience for that? Or I know that youth at risk is near and dear to your heart. It's what you're really doing. Are you gearing towards the youth, or is that all in general, the general public?
Social enterprise and social entrepreneurship. So those that are living well but also doing good. So they're putting the oxygen mask on themselves, but they're also satiating the world. So they've done very, very well in their life, but what are they doing with that extra energy? How are they giving back? So basically, I help give them exposure and awareness in their personal and professional life, but the real reason I want to talk to them on my own show is what's in their heart. What's in their heart, what's in their head, what is their purpose, what is their why? Right? What makes them tick?
So these are folks that have already acquired wealth, and you want to work on the kindness for them to be philanthropists?
For the most part. It doesn't have to be a prerequisite to have wealth, right? More about the vision and the mission and the vehicle. You know, conceptually, what are they doing, right? Where it doesn't matter if they're A, B, or C level experts, right? Most of them have been A-level experts, right? So usually I would do 3 people per show. One would be A-level, 2 B-levels. So it'd be like a 20-minute segment and then 2 10-minute segments.
I like that you're spreading kindness all over the place.
Yeah,
on top of the Marilyn Monroe building.
Yeah, you know, when I was in India, you know, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. It gave me the greatest gift, and that was humility. I went there, I came back humble pie and kind.
India will do that to you. Absolutely. The sheer volume. It's my mother country
away from Canada, so I love it.
The sheer volume of poverty there will humble you. And which part of India did you visit?
Mumbai. So I've only been to Mumbai. So when we had the Fitness Star model search, we were going to do Chandigarh, Delhi, Goa, a number of different cities. But then the company was sold. So I actually went twice to Mumbai recently, and I was looking at small gym locations to build a personal training studio for Bollywood stars, right? So to train them for their movies. So my friend, who was the guy that bought the franchise, he was flatmates with Salman Khan way back in university. Right, so I had an in with somebody.
So you know your Bollywood actors.
Yeah, it's a different world over there, right? And it's like religion.
So when you came back, because even for myself, I grew up in Mauritius. I thought I knew what poverty looked like until I went to India. It's a whole different scale. It's on a whole different scale. It really changes your perspective, things, how you view life, and internalize who you are, what you are, and what you're doing for the community. For yourself, how did it foundationally change you and shift you after your trip to Mumbai?
You know, I'll share this story. It's quite unique. I've had 3 spinal surgeries, so I have something called degenerative disc disease. So the gel and the hydration in the discs is dissipating. So I've had 3 major surgeries, had to learn to walk 3 times again. Before my first surgery, I tried everything, every modality, everything that you could possibly imagine before I went under the knife, right? So I exhausted all possibilities. a week before I was heading to Mumbai to host Fitness Star Model Search Mumbai, which was one of our biggest shows ever. It was just massive because there's just so many people there. And especially for women getting into the fitness scene was one of the things that I was advocating for over there. So it was a big, big success. I basically had a lady that I was working with at a gym. She was a South African lady, and she had mentioned to me that, why don't you go see my energy healer before you go? And she talks about past life regressions and stuff, and I was like, oh, I wasn't really into it. It's like mumbo jumbo stuff, hocus pocus, right? And then I was like, you know, no matter how much kumbaya you sing, I'm at a point where I need to go under surgery, right? And I was like, okay, I'll try it out.
What do I got to lose?
What do I got to lose, right? So I ended up going to her, and she goes, would you mind if I shared with you your last past life? And I was like, okay. You were a young Indian girl from Mumbai, and you were actually murdered by your pimp because you were forced into sex trafficking, and you tried to feed your family, and your pimp murdered you. This is what she tells me.
That's
and I was like, I don't know how she got that, but the crazy part was she did not know I was going to India. Nobody knew. Okay. I didn't tell anybody. So she had no idea. So what are the chances of her picking the exact same city that I'm heading to for the first time in 1 week? What are the chances of that? So I could have been terrified, or I could embrace going home.
That's right.
And I did. Right. I went home. I went home on the plane the whole way there on Jet Airways. I got caught up on my Bollywood, right? And then basically landed there, and I was like, I embraced it. I went straight to the slums. I was like this lone Caucasian dude with a tank top and some flip-flops and a camera, playing gully cricket with the kids. I went to really deep places that generally tourists do not go. But I feel connected and
you felt
good
safe.
With what I'm doing.
You clearly felt safe to be in that
safe.
area.
Yeah, you know the movie Slumdog Millionaire? That's real. That stuff is real.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, mind you, the wealth there makes Oakvillians look poor.
Yeah,
like they're very wealthy, and I know many from the Birla family, the Shade family, that are friends of mine that are very, very wealthy.
There's a huge disparity between the rich and the poor. I've been to India 5 times, and it's very humbling, and you can really see the disparity. It's much, much more than in the Western society.
So true, so true.
But on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with James. And next, we're going to talk about his philanthropy work with youth at risk. We'll be right back.
Losing weight and feeling fit is a simple 3-point process: diet, exercise, and a weight reduction supplement. VeggieSlim by Greenish is a Health Canada approved weight management formula that's effective, safe, vegetarian, and natural to use. Combined with the right diet and exercise plan, VeggieSlim will bring you back onto the path of healthy living.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here with James Earth, and we're going to be talking about Reviver Rejuvenation Ranch, which is supporting risk at youth. Tell us more about that. I know yesterday when we were talking, you mentioned that you've raised money for the ranch, and you already have a location in mind.
Yeah, very exciting project. Honored to be a part of this project. You know, even though I'm kind of spearheading it, there's about 10 to 12 individuals involved. Right now, predominantly male, because we're focusing on 40 young boys. Okay. Now, it's kind of modeled after the boarding school model because we're aligning ourselves with the school system here in Ontario. A big part of the mandate is to help them get their OSSD so they can actually graduate. They have electives, which are apprenticeships. So after their regular schooling throughout the day, Monday through Friday, for an hour and a half after their school day, we have a custom motorcycle shop and hot rod shop so they can learn to become a mechanic, organic vegetable farming, learning about environmental energy. So they can pick a number of different electives. A cool one that we just started was jewelry design. I see you have some beautiful jewelry as from Susie, correct?
Susie Q Jewels.
Right,
Courtesy of Susie Q,
yeah,
guys.
Yeah, I love her work, you know. And we just launched a line of beads where the kids actually make the beads, and then they learn how to put them online and do the e-commerce and go through the whole sales process, embroidery for hats and t-shirts, printing and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's about becoming a sustainable, contributing member of society. So 40 kids, 20 spots go to rich kids, families, and 20 spots go to the 30 13 priority neighborhoods in the GTA, which is the Greater Toronto Area, with kids that don't have a penny to their name. So myself and my team will raise the money for those kids, and then the wealthier kids would pay for themselves. And there's a tuition per year. They volunteer. Process is, I go to the police, who are the kids within the community that are the troublemakers. So these are the ones that are left over after the foster care system, after the juvie system, after potential prison terms or whatever, right? They are the forgotten ones, the lost souls. So the worst of the worst, most would say. So I'll find out who they are, go to the police. Are they under investigation? No. Okay, let's meet the parents. Police introduce me to the parents. So all these guys with crazy tattoos and skulls and shaved heads, they're actually good men. A lot of my staff are ex-cons, so they become relatable to the kids. We have one rule at the ranch, which is no cops, right? So we work closely with the police, but we are not the police because the kids will not open up. So we do our absolute best to make it as relatable for them as possible. So then the police will get out of the way, and then the parents and myself will go to, let's call him little Joey, for argument's sake. Here's James. He's going to sit down with you at your local Tim Hortons or your local Starbucks, and he wants to present something to you that could potentially, you know, change the course of your life for the next half hour. So I go meet with them. 10 minutes, I let them talk a little bit about themselves. 5 minutes, I explain who I am. 20 minutes, I sit down and I say, this is the project. 5 minutes, you have to decide yes or no whether this is for you, and if you say no, you won't see me again.
So you're using the same curriculum as Ontario curriculum for high school?
For high school part, yes. For everything else, it's about life skills, life skills and apprenticeship. So we're using a model that a lot of European countries use, based more in practical apprenticeship. So when they actually cut out of the ranch, they can get a sustainable job.
And you're gonna, is there a transition period between like graduating from high school, getting that skill set to obtaining a job and an apartment by themselves? Because I'm assuming the ranch, they'll be living there, right?
They live there for 1 year.
Yeah. And then eventually now they need to figure out, once they have employment, is how to live on your own and keep that habit.
That's right.
Is there a support system that transition them after?
Everything's being developed. The answer is yes. That's the whole plan. Without a sustainable component to it, what's the point? Like really, what is the point, right? So the reason why we're building a long-term facility is because we were doing short-term, like summer camp stuff or weekends, but they were going back to the gangs, right? So a lot of the men that work with us, you know, we're not afraid of the police and we're not afraid of the gangs because we know them both very, very well. We satiate and service the youth at risk in order to make the communities better as a whole, because eventually that kid's going to go back to the community, right? We're looking at housing project for the kids so they migrate to this. In order for us to get a successful check mark for one youth, it takes 2 years. So 1 year with us and then 1 year in the community. So they have to stay completely crime-free, so it's called the non-repeat offender rate, right? And then when we get our check mark, we get our testimonial.
That's right. So you mentioned it's a not-for-profit organization.
No, it's for-profit.
It is a for-profit
This one is a for-profit. It's called social enterprise. It's the new way of giving. Long gone are the days of having to make a choice between making a difference or making a fortune. So what I teach is how to make a big global impact or impact in your community, making a difference while making income or a fortune.
Excellent. And I like the fact that you say you employed a lot of people that had been in prison or had a rough background. For the viewers out there that is watching us, how can they reach you, or if they want to see if there's any opportunities to be part of your organization? Yeah,
you can reach out to me personally at jamesert.com, JAMESERDT.com, Echo Romeo Delta Tango, I think the police tell me.
Is that what the book says? He's probably heard that a few times.
There's a contact form there for now, and then in a couple weeks we'll have Reviver, REVIVER.ca. So frontwards and backwards, it's spelled the same, right? It's like the yin and the yang.
Nice. And is that in place yet? So when is that going to launch?
The website's going to launch in about 2 weeks. We're currently at around the 11th hour of getting it all done and developed. And now we've been working on programming. We've done a bunch of hiring. I've hired a COO. I've hired an HR director to make sure that, you know, all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, make sure the cons that we're actually hiring have been 5 years minimum clean and out of the whole lifestyle. And they've got their criminal record checks and their police checks done. And I mean, we're working working with minors.
Yes.
There's 40 minors that are on our watch, right? So my job is the safety of every boy or girl. So, you know, we've only been talking about boys. It's a franchise system, right? So somebody can buy one of these for $5 million and they can pop it up in Mumbai, or they can pop it up. We've already got an order for one in Malaga, Spain, and we're looking at building 12 across Canada.
So when do you go live? When do you start officially launching the ranch? Is that this coming school year?
Yeah, well, we're really excited about a property that we're looking at right now. So we're in current negotiations with the pricing of this particular land parcel. It's in the Niagara region, so a lot of my staff is in and around St. Catharines, Niagara, Hamilton, Mississauga, Oakville, Burlington, right? So it's kind of a nice drive for each of them. And then basically, the school year for 2019 September is when we're going to go full tilt, but for now we're going to start with 12 boys to systemize the processes.
These are kind of your beta.
Yeah, it's like
testing,
the lowest viable amount that we can generate with those kids, almost like a sample. So they get a discounted rate, but they're helping us feed the
refining the
it.
programming.
Yeah, and then once we actually have a turnkey package, we'll launch the female ranch within a 10-kilometer radius of the male ranch. Male staff, female staff. However, what's very, very important, especially for these young men, is to learn respect and chivalry for women. So we'll have somebody that's a workshop faculty that would come in for the day, but they would leave. They wouldn't sleep there because some of these boys are fairly dangerous. We have rival gang members and stuff. We have a zero tolerance policy for violence or anything. You know, there's no bars. And at the end of the day, there's no punitive measures either. It's the boot camp of love. So that's what's ultimately missing in all of these boys and these bullies and these criminals, you know. We allow them to be young boys again without having to worry about danger or violence.
And you're providing them a safe environment, a loving environment, and it's absolutely refreshing to hear you, James, kind of after your history, say, you know what, I've learned so much about my own life or what's have happened, and now this is how I want to give back to the community. Yeah. And this is how I want to help the youth that I didn't have that chance. That's so now you're creating that chance, and I like how you're making it as a franchise. So that could be popping up around the world, not just restricted
to Canada. Never too late to be great, right? You know, if you're interested, reviver.ca, reach out. You know, on every level, we're going to be hiring, you know, staff, and we're going to need volunteers. You know, a couple hours ago before I came to your show here on Tag TV, I did 2 interviews with 2 ladies that you probably know within the fundraising executive team that we're building. So their job is to get the 20 kids into our program. Right, so they're going to be doing the fundraising. There's a lot of single moms that basically have had their kids go through this stuff. And they're like, oh my God, I wish we had this type of a program. And what's really cool about it is it's the easiest project I've ever done. Even though it's audaciously big, it's so easy because there's no selling. People get it. You know, you talk to even a police officer, they're like, oh my God, that is so needed. That is needed. It's not like, oh wow, that's cool, or we would want this or something. This is needed. So I found a problem that we've come up with a solution in a sustainable manner, and we're going to save the government of Canada millions on healthcare, millions on welfare, millions on the ripple effects of gun violence, dead cops, dead kids, the list goes on.
And I think the next step for you is to start meeting up with your member of parliament and your provincially and federally.
That's right. Do you know any?
Yeah, well, you know? Certainly can introduce
Mademoiselle
you.
PM, huh? What's in your future, huh?
Certainly can introduce you, because I think this is the ripple effect of the benefit is huge to the country, massive to the country. Of shifting
and that's the goal. You know, going from somebody that, you know, was a good kid. I came from a good family. You know, I didn't come from the slums. You know, I came from a really good family, but a very strict family, right? So I rebelled because of the strictness. Just because you have money and you come from a privileged lifestyle and family, sometimes it's worse because, you know, you're looking for love. Everybody's looking for love. Everybody's looking for attention. And if we don't get it, we look for it in different ways. right? So we veer off and we go to find it. And sometimes we end up with undesirable individuals or become victims of bullying and get wrapped up in the poor me victim role and the blame game. And then when we get over that and we understand that, you know, we're responsible for the decisions that we've made and where we went, you know, outside of natural disasters, of course.
Cause and effect, right?
Cause and effect.
Cause and
That's
effect
it,
and
you know.
consequences.
That's right.
But bottom line here is love. Just love
It's
those
love.
kids and
Love
love
is the
yourself
answer.
and love everybody so that
That's
it can
it.
be better. James, thank you so much for coming. I
very
look
good. High
forward
five,
to
girl.
getting some updates from you about how things
we'll
are
have
going.
to invite you out to the ranch. We have something called the Echo Circle. You can come and tell a story to the young girls.
Oh my
Maybe
God.
even the boys.
I would love to do that. I will
Awesome.
be very honored to do that.
This
Thank
is
you
your
so
invitation.
much. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
being on. And I would also like to thank our viewer today and also my fashion stylist, Susie Tomasi, and her website is susieqjewels.com. Please follow me on Instagram and Facebook and check out my website and subscribe to TAC TV. Thank you everybody for coming today. Until next time.
What do kids do when they don't hear the words "I love you"? They look for love elsewhere. You took the words right out of my mouth. Who is the most far gone in our community? Mississauga, Brampton, Caledon, all right? This is the test boundary of where we're going to create this. Then we're going to go right into Toronto. From Toronto, we're going to start building ranches across the country. 2 in Halifax, 2 in Montreal, 2 in Toronto, 2 in Calgary, 2 in Winnipeg, 2 in Vancouver. So there's a 12 ranch project. Craig, Neil, and myself are in charge of rolling those out and kind of traveling with them as they open. And then we'll obviously be doing these types of meetings in every city respectively across the country.
I'm going to be there. You got to be there. You want to be there.
I would love to be a mentor. I would love to even donate. We have a business, so we do t-shirts, even to provide.
This program is needed so badly that I don't understand why there's not prime ministers here today.
I am a Canadian, all right? The boys that are coming to this ranch are Canadian. Right now, especially in the world, with all this crap going on all around the world, that seems to be getting forgotten in a lot of places. And we're here to remind the world that Canada has got it right.